Hello, second grade families. This is just a video to remind you about our data folders that you learned about at the academic workshop. And if you happen not to make the second grade academic workshop, we're hoping that this video can explain what this folder is about. So when you open your folder, you're going to see two sides, a data side and a home learning activity side. I'm going to start explaining the data side. The first thing you will see is map scores, and it's going to tell you which it is, reading or math, right in the front, and then their score to the side is their RIT score. This score right here is what drives their instruction at school and tells us as teachers where they're at and where they're maybe lacking and where their strengths are. So this score is what all this information derives from the score right here. And on the back, MAPS is a test that shows progress over time. So there are scores on here from first grade. These first three scores were their first grade scores, the beginning of first grade, the middle of first grade, and the end of first grade. And then the last score right here is what they scored in second grade. And these scores are their projected growth and where MAP wants them at the end of the year. So you can kind of look at that chart and figure out some more information about that. There's a lot of details on here that I'm sure you can't see in the video. So that was reading. Math is the same thing. It gives your child their RIT score, and again, this tells teachers where they're at, what they're lacking, what their strengths are. And on the back, same thing. There are first grade scores, the first three, and then that second grade score is the fall score that they just took. And again, it shows their projected growth and their goal by the end of the year. If we're moving on from MAP scores, that brings us to our RIMP. Every child this year is going to be on a reading RIMP. And what that is a reading improvement and monitoring plan. So you will either see a red, a yellow, or a green RIMP. And how we deciphered this is from those MAP scores. If the MAP score was 164 or below, they're going to be on a red RIMP. If the score was 165 to 174, they're going to be on a yellow RIMP. And if the MAP score was 175 or higher, they're going to be on a green reading RIMP. And what this is, it just keeps us accountable at school to help the students where they're at. We need to meet their needs where they're at and try and grow them from there. All of the students, 100% of them, will be receiving the instruction that they need, but our friends that need help with more reading, they could possibly be being pulled out for reading instruction and getting some more instruction on their level. So that's the data section of our binder. If we want to move over to the home learning activities, what this side is we would love for our students to be doing things at home that we're doing here at school. We think that having the exposure to it not only at school will help them be successful in the classroom. So the first packet is just explaining how reading has changed since you were a child, and you can read that. There's a lot of good information on there. The second reading we have is the roll and retell. What this is, it's a fun hands-on way to use the comprehension skills after your child is reading. So if you're reading to your child or they're independently reading, what they can do after every chapter or every couple pages or every short story is roll a dice. And whichever number it lands on, that's a question that they can answer. So for example, if they would roll a number 1, the question is, what is the story or chapter mostly about? And then it says to provide evidence to support that. So that's just another comprehension skill we use at school. We want them to be reading and understanding what they're reading and show evidence to support what they're understanding. These next items are MAP task cards. So what these are questions that mirror the MAP test. It's not very kid-friendly on the MAP test, so we're thinking the more exposure they get to that, the more it will help them. So these are questions. You can cut these into squares and you can laminate them so they can be done multiple times, or you can just choose a few here or there to do at night. On these map task cards, there are reading and math questions. So we're hoping these are used at home to mirror the map test. The rest of the home learning activities are for math, and these might look different in each folder depending on how the teacher did it, how they printed them out. But for Splash Math, you can find your child's name and their ID. So their username and password for Splash Math. They should have their username and password for Prodigy. And they should have their username and password for Extra Math, which is focusing on math facts, which is a goal that we want our children to know by the end of second grade, all their math facts, 0 to 20. So I hope explaining this folder put it more into perspective for you, and we just would love if the home learning activities would be done at home so it can mirror what we're doing here at school. If anyone has any questions about this folder, feel free to contact your teacher, and thanks for taking the time to listen.